have a look. So if we look at the grade 11 topic of equations and inequalities, in the last couple of lessons, we dealt with factorizing and then solving quadratic equations with factorizing. And we also dealt with rewriting a quadratic equation to be written in the general form. Now today, we're going to start talking about something called completing the square, which is a skill or process that you need to get comfortable in, or at least reasonably comfortable. You don't want to overuse it, but you do want to get some sense of how it works. Tell me in the chat, have you seen completing the square before? Yes or no? I want you to vote in the chat. Have you seen completing the square before? Okay. And so a couple of students, so welcome to Amakle, Atlichang, Sange, Siamtanda, Stephen, Arson. If you had to rate your understanding out of 10, with 10 is a perfect understanding, where is your understanding at the moment with completing the square? Oh, okay. You guys are pretty good. Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm not going to overdo it then, because I will go through it and we'll check it, but I'm not going to go right from the very beginning. But we will keep an eye on this process. Okay. So what I want you to do quickly is I just want to check that you guys can factorize these three trinomials for me. So just to get your brain moving today, I want you to factorize this trinomial, factorize that trinomial, factorize that trinomial. So Siamtanda says for the first one, I get x plus 5 times x plus 5. Awesome, Siamtanda. Let's see what we get for the second one and the third one. Okay. So for the second one, we get x minus 2 times x minus 2. Agreed. And what about the last one? What do we get for that? Welcome to Amy. So x squared plus 8x plus 16. Sange has helped us out. Okay. What do you notice in all three of these trinomials in terms of factorizing them? What do you notice in terms of all three? Same sign and values. What else? We call these trinomials perfect square trinomials. So if we look at that, I want you to just recognize that all of these are perfect square trinomials. Okay, now, when we have to complete the square, it's important to be aware of the characteristics of perfect square trinomials. So what I want you to notice is that there's a certain pattern that seems to apply. If you've got a perfect square trinomial, there's a relationship between the middle term, which is 10, and the constant term, which is here. Does anybody want to try and describe from class, how do we go from the middle term to the constant term in a perfect square trinomial? I mean, I can explain it, but basically what I'm saying is, how is this one over here connected, and how is this one over here connected? Or how is this value here connected to this value here? Who wants to have a crack at that? Trying to explain it. So I'll see if anyone in the chat. Okay. All that you notice is with a perfect square trinomial, all you need to do when you have a perfect square is the middle term, which is 10. If you divide it by 2, you're going to get 5. And if you take 5 and square it, you get 25. And so when we complete the square, this idea of taking the middle term and dividing it by 2 and then squaring what you get, whatever that may be, and getting another number is quite an important idea. Give me a thumbs up if you've seen something in class about like the relationship between, say, this 8 over here and this 16 over here. You know, in this one, you'd say, look, the middle term divided by 2 gives you 4. And if you square 4, you get 16, which is this term here. Now, we're going to explore how we can use that in a moment, but I just wanted to point it out to you before we get started. So we're going to start by completing the square for this figure over here. And then you're going to do it for me with the other one. So if I want to complete the square with this, make it a square, I take the term, which is in front here, and I divide it by what? I divide it by 2. And then I take that and I square it. So what is 2 over 2 squared going to be equal to? What is 2 over 2 squared going to be equal to? It is equal to 1. Yes. Now, 1 is the magic number. So what I'm going to do now is I've got x squared plus 2x, but I need to complete the square for this expression. So to make it a square, I'm going to add 1. But oh my goodness, the whole universe is going to come crashing down because I added 1, and now I've unbalanced the universe. So before it's too late, what do I have to do to balance the universe, to bring balance to the force again? I've added 1 out of nowhere. Oh my goodness, I've unbalanced it. What do I have to do? I have to take away 1. Yes, now the universe is balanced again. This is good news for everyone. But what is even better news for us is that we have created a square using these 3 terms. This is a perfect square trinomial. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. So we are going to get x plus 1 squared. Let me actually write in a thinner pen. It's a bit thick. So this is going to be the same as x plus 1 squared minus 1. So that's interesting. We are claiming that x plus 1 squared minus 1 is the same as what the original thing was, except I've now completed the square. I've got a square in there. And that's actually true. If you multiply that out, you will see that that ends up being the same. This whole thing here is the same as this thing over here. And this is called completing the square. So I want you guys to come along and take this expression, and I want you to tell me, what should I be adding? So I should be adding a certain amount, and I should also be taking away a certain amount. I want to know, what is that amount going to be? So following this completing the square process that we've learned about, so we have to take the middle term, so 5 divided by 2, but we have to square that, which is 25 over 4. So we add 25 over 4, but so that the world doesn't break, we must take it away again. Now, this perfect square trinomial is going to be formed here. So it's going to be something squared, and then it's going to be minus 25 over 4. Give me a thumbs up if you follow how I got the something squared minus, oh wait, sorry, this should be, yeah. So this over here is the same as this over here. But now I need to somehow gobble this up. That's a bit dark. Into something squared minus 25 over 4. I want to know what goes in here. I'll give you a hint. This might be helpful. Okay, so it's going to be x, because that gives me my x squared, plus 5 over 2 squared. Now, that is a little bit sneaky, but the value over here is always going to be the same as this value over here. Now, I know we need to practice this, but I just want to get a feel from the class right now. Thumbs up if you followed me doing B. Thumbs down if you didn't follow me doing B. Okay, then what I want to do, and I don't expect you to get this straight away, but I want you to do another one like this. So you are going to do, I want you to complete the square for this expression over here. And I want you to think about what do you have to do first, then you have to get a number, and then you need to add and subtract that number. Okay. So ask yourself, to complete the square, what do I need to do? We hone in on this minus 3, but I have to do something to that minus 3. Let me make it a bit bigger so everyone can see what's. I like doing a little bit of working out on the side here, just to help me. So minus 3 over 2, but now I need to square that. What's the number going to be that I need to add? Okay, it's going to be 9 over 4. Now, what we need to do to make life a little bit easier is so that the 4 doesn't get in the way, I'm going to move the 4 here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say plus 9 over 4, and then I'm going to say minus 9 over 4. Now, the world is still balanced because I've got this, but you now need to give me two values. You need to give me a value for this, and you also need to give me a value for this. But normally it says you're not allowed to use your calculator. So I want to know what goes in the green squiggle and what goes in the black squiggle. Okay, Atlechang, I like what I'm seeing. So we know that this part is going to be a perfect square. We've designed it this way. And this is going to be an x, and then it's going to be a minus 3 over 2. And then it's going to be plus something. Now, what you can do is actually 9 over 4 is the same as going 4 minus 2 and a quarter. And so there's a couple of different ways you could do this, but 4 minus 2 is 2. Take away another quarter, you can get 1 and 3/4, or you could have done it with improper fractions. But your final answer should be x minus 3 over 2 squared plus 1 and 3/4. And now you have completed the square. Give me a thumbs up if you followed that. Thumbs down if you didn't. We're going to do another one. If everyone is okay. Okay, well, let's do another one, because this process gets easy when you do it enough times. I want you to complete the square for f. For this expression. So I've got minus 4 over 2, and then I need to square that. And what's that going to give me? Minus 2 squared, that's 4. So I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to put the plus 5 down here, and then I'm going to add 4, and then I'm also going to what? I'm going to take away 4. Add 4 and then take away 4. That seems okay to me. What is my final answer going to be? So if we look at this, we have something squared, and then that's going to be a plus 1. So what goes here is x, and then what's going to come after that? Well, it's just going to be minus 2. Okay, and this number is it's always going to be this one over here. It's like this minus 2 is the same as this part out here. Okay, I think you're doing well. Now, I think what we do is we need something a bit trickier to spice up our lives here. Now, one of the problems with completing the square is it only works if the number in front of the x squared is 1. And in example C, the number in front of the x squared is not 1, it's 3. Does anybody have a solution for how I can get this 3 away from x squared so I can have a 1 and I can use completing the square? Does anybody have a technique that they may have learned about that will allow me to legally remove that 3 from there? You guys are on it. Cheapers, creepers. You guys know your stuff. Okay. You'll notice, okay, now you don't take out the x common factor. You just take out the 3. And now what you have is you have this bit that you can complete the square on. The 3 just hangs out outside, chilling. So I want you now to try and complete the square inside this big bracket. And I want to ask you, what is my next step if I know I need to focus on this? What is my next step? So I've got a 4. Are we all happy with that? Plus 4 minus 4? But I still need to, inside this is going to be broken up into 2 parts. And this part is going to be a perfect square trinomial. And that part is going to be a minus 4. I want to know what goes in the perfect square trinomial part. So we are just going to say x, actually, let's do this. Let's have our perfect square. It's here. And let's get rid of this because this is just, so we know we're going to have that. And I know that we need an x to get this back. And then this is going to be plus 2. And so this whole thing, we found through a series of mathematical steps, we have found that that is equivalent to that. And this has a perfect square in it. And it also has a very different form that will be helpful in functions later. Now, this is getting tricky. So it looked like you guys sort of knew what you're doing here, but let's just do another class check. Happy faces if you follow me. Sad faces if you don't. Meh faces if you're somewhere in the middle. Okay. Okay, so Stephen, I think that's not a problem at all because there's definitely some sense in which this is getting a bit weird. So let's do G together and then you can do H to finish. And then we'll take a break. So I want to rewrite this expression as with basically a square involved. I want to complete the square or have a square involved. What is the first problem as I look at G? I want someone in the class to come online and tell me what is the first problem that stops me from using this technique called completing the square. Okay, Siamtanda, let's go to you.
All right, sir. So
Yeah,
basically the x squared, the coefficient is not 1.
yeah. It's not 1. And it's almost like if it's not 1, you can't apply this process. Last time, you spotted that I could take out a common factor of 3. This time is a little bit harder. What do I do this time? Not harder, but I have to be careful. Do you have some ideas?
Yes, we still take out the common factor of 3. It's going to be
Okay, so I'm going
3
to open a bracket, and what goes inside that?
x squared.
Okay, so you've got this term, yeah?
Then we have to go 7 over 3 since the
Oh, you
answer is
do know this section well. Okay, I have to slow you down because Siamtanda, you know your stuff. The reason Siamtanda has put it over 3 is that he knows that when he multiplies by 3, it goes away, and you're left with 7x, which is what you want. So that is a very clever step to use because they're going to knock each other out. Okay, brilliant, Siamtanda. What's the last bit?
it's minus 3. It's minus 3.
Yeah, and that's quite easy to see. Okay,
Yeah.
Siamtanda, you have helped us greatly. I'm going to ask someone else to come online and help me with the next step. Now, I have said that I want to complete the square, but I don't see any squares at the moment. So I want to use the completing the square process, and the completing the square process seems to focus on this term. In the last time, I would normally write down that value. And what would I do to it next? Who wants to tell me what I need to do to that 7 over 3 if I follow the process I've been using so far? I think I need to divide it by 2, and then I need to square it. what value will I get if I take 7 over 3 and I divide it by 2? Atlichang, you've got this perfect. And square it. Now, your calculator can help you, so don't be afraid to use that. If you want to pull some ninja moves, you can also say dividing by 2 is the same as timesing by a half. And so what you could have is 7 over 6 squared, which is 49 over 36. Now, what I want to know is from my calculator people, are you all getting 49 over 36? Are we happy that 49 over 36 is the number I need to add and take away again? Okay, so what I'm going to do, now remember, I just divided this by 2 and I squared it, but it's like a dressed up number now. It's a little bit fancy. But I'm still going to go 49 over 6, and I'm adding it. And in order to not break the world, I go minus 49 over 6. Now, the part over here is going to just be by itself. It's going to be some number that you can work out. The part over here, let me squiggle beneath it, is going to be a perfect square. So I'm going to rewrite this as that. Then there's some perfect square, and then there's some other number that comes after that. I want to know, and you can use your calculators if you like, what is this amount going to be? It's going to be just down here somewhere. What's that going to be? So minus 49 over 6 minus 3. Maybe I'm going to do it on my calculator. I mean, you can do it. So let me take out my calculator. Minus 49 divided by 6. And then take away 3. I get minus 67 over 6. Okay, that's good. Now, the 3 is just chilling out in front. It's not bothered. This bit, now I need to go what goes inside here. What goes inside here? Well, I think almost definitely it's going to be an X. Well, not almost definitely, it has to be an X. Look at all these plus signs here, so it has to be a plus. Now the question is, what goes here? Okay, be careful. It's actually going to be 7 over 6. Let's just check that. Wait. So let me just check that, but I'm pretty confident it's going to be 7 over 6, because if it's not 7 over 6, how do if I need to get this over here, and this needs to be 7 over 6 so that I can get 49 over, oh wait, no, it's going to be 7 over 49. I added the wrong thing. Sorry, guys. Can you see my mistake? Can you see this should have been 49 over 36? So I made a little bit of a boo-boo, so let's go back and correct this. Yes. So even maths teachers make boo-boos. So let's go ahead and have a look at this. I need to redo my working. So I have minus 49 over 36 minus 3. So minus 49 divided by 36. And then I take away 3. And now I get minus 157 over 36. Apologies for those who were scratching their head. Now, if I look here, in order to get 49 over 36, can you see that this is going to have to be 7 over 6? And that would be my final answer. Now, this was quite a tough one because I'm really digging into the fractions with you guys. But I just want to kind of take you back to the process. You took out the 3, which you did. You added a number, then you took it away again. And then you put this block over here together. And then you had to gather this together into a perfect square. Give me a thumbs up if you sort of followed that. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't follow it. And I don't mind. I just want to help me gauge for the next part of the lesson. Vote, people. You must, it's your rights. I want to see those votes coming in. Happy, sad, somewhere in the middle, you tell me. Okay. It's time for a break. I've pushed you hard, and it's important that we take care of our brains. So what I need to do is I need you to stand up, and I want you to join me in a little bit of mathematical relaxation. And so what I want you to do is I want you to raise your hands and breathe. Hold. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Breathe in. Yeah. Then it's shake our arms out of it. And shake our legs out a bit. You want to feel your body loosen up, so all that tension go away. Arms out, just a bit of rotation. So just gently rotating. And then as you relax, you go further. Okay, and then shake out the arms again. You want to be loose, loose, loose. Shake out your legs. Okay, and then let's just roll the shoulders quickly. So roll the shoulders. Your shoulders get quite tense, especially when you're stressed or you're feeling anxious about something. So you want to just relax them and tell your body, look, body, I can chill out. And then roll forward. And then one more shake to really let your body know I'm loosey-goosey here. Like I'm just so relaxed. My brain can chill out. There's no threat. And you can still keep learning. Okay, then last bit, jumping jacks to get the blood moving. We're going to do 15 in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 more. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I can definitely feel that my body is feeling more relaxed. And I feel like my brain is like, okay, cool. You know, it's not the beginning of the day, but I can definitely do 1 or 2 more things in the remaining time tonight, which is why having a break is so important. But we need to have our little puzzle before we can move on. So I want to know what a donkey times a duck minus a cow is. I look forward to your answers. I look forward to your answers. Stephen. So Siamtanda is on the money there, and it's 10, 10, 10. So ducks are 10. What's a donkey worth in this economy? Sange, a donkey is worth 5 in this economy indeed. Now, cows seem to go in pairs, so be aware that these cows like to move in pairs. What is a cow worth? It seems like each cow is 1. Okay, so using the power of BODMAS, what is my final answer? Stephen, you're on the money. Siamtanda, you're on the money. So it's 5 times 10 because BODMAS is 50 minus 1. And then we have 49. All right, so we've had a nice little novel, fun puzzle. We've had a bit of a stretch. How are you feeling? Are you feeling like your brain has some space for learning? I'm not saying it's going to be the beginning of the day, but do you feel like you could squeak out a little bit more learning here? Okie dokie. I want you to complete the square on. Did we do this one already? It looks familiar. Have we done this one already today? Tell me in the chat, yes or no, if that looks so familiar, like literally we've done it already. Don't think so. Okay. I want you to try and complete the square for the yellow one and for the green one. See if you can complete the square using the skills I've shown you so far today. It's time for you to fly solo a little bit more in the second part of the lesson. So I want you to think, what is the first problem here? It's the 3. And the way we can get around it is by doing that. And what goes inside the bracket? When you're done with the yellow and the green one, just say done in the chat. And we have to think of a number that we can add and then take away again to complete the square for the yellow one. Alrighty. Stephen, what do you think we're going to add or subtract, or is it a question?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Hello, sir.
Hi, Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Go ahead.
Sir, to tell you the truth, sir, I am confused when I say
Okay.
I don't.
Okay,
Yo,
not a problem.
it's blank
We're
in my
going to do
mind.
this. Okay. Are you okay with the idea that I need there to be a 1 in front, and so I'm factorizing by taking out the 3? Are you okay with that part?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now you'll notice that the -4 got moved to the end. Are you okay with the -4 just hanging out there, even though it seems artificially far away? Are you happy that it's the same -4 as here?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So now comes this big, it's almost like I've left a big space because I want to make a square. But this is where the completing the square
Yes, sir.
thing comes in. What number do you think I'm going to focus on next? Can you see that the 2 is going to get quite a bit of my
It's
attention?
the 2, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And what do I do with the number in front of the x normally in this process? I divide it by 2, and then I do what?
Then don't you square it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of 2's there. What's 2 over 2 squared?
1.
Yes. Okay, now this is the magic number for this question. You did all this work to figure out I need to simply add 1 to make a perfect square trinomial, but I've added 1, which means I've unbalanced the world. So how can we rebalance the world?
Subtract it.
So you're going to take away 1. Yes. Now, what's going to happen is these 3 terms are going to hang out together, and these 2 terms are going to hang out together. The 3 is just chilling in the front. And so what I'm going to say is it's quite easy to see -1 minus 4 is -5. Would you agree with me that it's not too bad to see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically I just went this and this. But the whole point of this was to complete the square. So there's going to be a square that's formed but I have to figure out what goes inside here next. What do you think is going to go there? Go with the first thing that you know must be there.
So it's the first one, I know it's X. The
Perfect.
second part is where I'm a bit confused
Okay.
from.
Are you happy that if you have all pluses here, there has to be a plus?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now all that you need to do is you go and you look, if you want to know what the number that goes here is, all you do is look inside the thing that you're squaring. What is the thing over there that you're squaring? What's 2 over 2 the same as?
2 over 2.
It's just
1.
1. So this is going to be x plus 1 squared. Okay, so this thing over here that you're squaring is going to be the same number over here that is eventually going to be squared. All right. Now, if you rewatch this, you'll see that there's a very definite method that comes in, but I want to give some more time for number 2. And if you're done with number 2, say number 2 done. And then if you haven't done number 2, if you have done number 2, then I want you to think about, can you do number 3? But I'm going to wait a little bit of time until people are done with number 2. Pleasure, Stephen. So the next up is the green one, and then we're going to do the blue one as well. So CM Tanda, that's awesome. I'm going to give a bit more time, but I want you to try number 3 over here. Take a screenshot if you do need for number 1. I'm going to rob it out in a second. Now for number 2, I have to use some tricks I learned today. This part is easy, but knowing what that is a bit harder. And it's going to be minus 7 over 2x. Now, we need to do some hard work working with the minus 7 over 2. So what I do is I pull it out and I say, I need to take minus 7 over 2 and I have to divide it by 2 or times by a half. But basically, you have to take minus 7 over 2. I've got to divide it by 2 and then I've got to square it and get some number. Let me do that a bit bigger. So now, some of you might have noticed this. A quicker way to go minus 7 over 2 divided by 2 is just to make it minus 7 over 4. I don't know if you know, so if you think about it, if you've got minus 7 over 2 and you want to divide it by 2, it's the same as timesing by a half. So really, you get minus 7 over 4. So instead of having to do a whole lot of working, I just double the denominator. That's a really useful trick. So then what I can do is I just go, I need to take minus 7 over 4 and square it. And for that, I should get 49 over 16. Give me a thumbs up if you followed up to the 49 over 16 part. Okay, now, did you follow? I just want to quickly see if I lost people or if you followed me as the 49 over 16. So now I'm going to add 49 over 16 and I'm going to subtract. These two are going to hang out together and these 3 are going to form their own perfect square trinomial. The 2 is just chilling outside. Now, we can use our calculator if we like to help us a little bit here, or we could use the power of fractions and go 49 over 16, and then this is plus, what's 3? It's 48 over 16. So that's a bit of a sneaky way of doing it. And so for that, I haven't figured out what's here, but I do actually know that's going to be that. What I want to know is what goes inside the bracket. What goes inside the bracket? I'm pretty confident it's going to be an X. Well, actually, I know it's going to be an X. But is it going to be a minus or a plus that goes here? Remember, I'm trying to collapse these three terms down into a perfect square. Now, if you look at the middle term, it's going to be a minus, yes. And the reason is it comes from that. Now, all I have to do is look above and go, what is inside the bracket here? And it's just going to be 7/4. Or another way to think about it is I have to be able to get 49/16. And the only way I get that is if I have 7/4 here. So the answer for this one is just 2 times bracket x minus 7/4 squared minus 1/16. Okay, last one for the day, or almost last one, maybe one more, but we'll see. What is the first step going to be in number 3? What is the first step going to be in number 3? And I'm going to use that trick, which I used before, where I say if I divide by 2 and then I just double the, who's got some, take out the negative. Sim Tanda, you've obviously had your jungle oats today, because -1, and then I have x squared minus 5x plus 3. Okay, what is my next step? I'm going to have to add and subtract something, and the 3 is going to have to go hang out on the other side of the room. But I'm not going to take the long way of doing this. I'm going to use some shortcuts. So what do I need to add and what do I need to subtract? So I know I've got -5 and I want to divide it by 2, but I need to square it. So -5/2, I square it, and I get a new number called 25/4. And Sange, you're quite right. You add 25/4, and then you take away 25/4, and then there was already a +3. Now, who's hanging out together? They're hanging out together there. I want to know what comes next. And I know this is going to be a perfect square, and there's going to be something there. So I want everyone to help me find that. So -25/4 plus 3, what's that going to end up being? So negative, that's going to be 6 1/4 plus 3, so 3 1/4. I think this is going to be -3 1/4. Or you could say -13/3. Does anybody get that on their calculators? Sorry, yeah. 13/4. Sorry, 13/4, not 13/3. Just check my adding there, because -6 1/4 plus 3 must be -3 1/4. Just want to get some confirmation. It's the end of the day, and you never know, maybe I make a silly mistake. Anybody get -3 1/4 for -25/4 plus 3? Let me know in the chat. I'm basically asking, ooh, you got -3. Remember, I'm just putting these two together. So those two together are buddies. And these ones over here, they hang out. So let me take out my calculator and just check. So I have -25 divided by 4 plus 3. And I get -13/4 or -3 1/4. So I definitely get this bit as -3 1/4. So just check your computer there. And then here I'm going to have x, and I'm going to have a minus because of this. And then what is going to go here? It's just going to be 5 over 2. And so that is this bit over here. And then the 1 is just chilling like it was at the beginning. It's just hanging out there. So we talk about this as being the constant, like the common factor we took out. We talk about this being the perfect square, and then this is just the constant term. So what did we do today? We basically just practiced a process called completing the square. And what are the rules for completing the square? Well, the value in front of the x squared term needs to always be 1. If it's not 1, you need to take out a common factor so that it is 1. Then in this process, the middle term of the trinomial always has or the middle term of the coefficient in front of the x term or the linear term is important. And you always take that term and you divide it by 2, and then you square it, and you get some number. And then that number has to be added and subtracted in order to allow the perfect square to form. But then you also have the perfect square and this constant bit that hangs out over here. All right, I'm going to call it a day for today.